Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are, and welcome to the webinar on how Lumentum automated the finance processes using WinfoBots. My name is Hari Setlapati, and I'm a managing director at Winfo Solutions. I will be your host today, and I'm very delighted to welcome you all to the webinar today. Firstly, I'd like to thank you all for taking the time to attend today. We do appreciate you finding a slot, in your busy schedule. I'm sure you'll find today's session enjoyable. So before we start, I'd like to quickly run through a few housekeeping points to ensure that everything runs smoothly. To confirm with everyone, the webinar is being recorded, and by attending, you are consenting to that. All of you have your microphones muted, and attendees cannot, hear or see each other. From our side, we'll be able to see the attendees and hear the participants as well. And in terms of the actual structure, after the opening remarks, the context setting, and the introductions, in the first 5 minutes or so, we'll then move on to the main content, which is a discussion around how Lumentum automated their finance processing using WinfoBots. The format of the webinar will be in a panel discussion and will last around 60 minutes or so. We've got some slides which the panel will use, but it'll be more of a discussion type format. There will be a chance for some richer engagement in a Q&A session, and we should have around 15 minutes for that in the end. There is a chat facility available, which you can use by clicking the chat icon at the bottom of the screen. You can use this to send comments, questions to the panelists at any time. Your comments will be read by an administrator, who are also part of this webinar, and will be directed in real time to our panel, or in some, we'll save it under the Q&A session at the end, depending on the question. If there are any specific questions that you want to raise that you don't want to raise in this webinar, you can always send us an email at sales@winfosolutions.com. As I mentioned, the webinar will last around 60 minutes and will finish by 9 a.m. Pacific time or 5 p.m. UK time. So you can move on, to your next commitment. We'll of course send you a full recording to all attendees after the webinar is ended. Okay, so with that, I'd like to introduce our speakers to you. Firstly, I'm very, very delighted to welcome our guest speaker, John Makako. John's the Director of IT Applications and Lumentum, and we've been working with John, for a good few years now. So John, very, very welcome. And please, if you can introduce yourself, please.
Yeah, sure, Harry. And thank you for inviting me to the webinar today. And hello, everyone, and thanks for joining. It's a pleasure to be here today. Excuse me. I'm very excited to share our automation journey with you and today. And just to tell you guys a little bit about myself, I've been with Lumentum now for over 8.5 years. And overall, I've been working in the IT industry for approximately 20 years. I'm responsible for Lumentum's business application, and that includes in my portfolio finance, HR, legal, and payroll. I lead the strategic and tactical digital transformation of our finance systems and our global processes in other various peripheral applications that drives our operational efficiency and agility and scale for growth, and that includes our recent M&As and obviously intelligent automation using the WinfoBots that we've been using now for the past 5 years. That plays a huge critical part in those focused areas. And having said that, very excited to be here to share our story and our journey, and taking our automation from concept to reality. So looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Back to you, Hari.
Thank you, John. And from the Winfo team, we have Nalini. Nalini, if you can introduce yourself.
Sure, Hari. Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nalini. I'm an RPA solution architect at Winfo. I have over 5 years of experience in automation, and I have been helping Lumentum with their RPA journey since 2020. I'm excited to share my insights with you all today. Thank you.
Thanks, Nalini. And last but not the least, right, Shanmugh, if you can introduce yourself as well.
Yeah, thanks, Hari. Hello, everyone. This is Shanmugh, the product architect at WinfoBots. In my role, I collaborate closely with both our product team and our customers, and constantly involved in building our product by onboarding automated solutions tailored to meet evolving business needs. I'm thrilled to be here today, eager to share my perspectives and experiences during this webinar.
Thank you, Shanmugh. So before we get into the content, I've got one slide about Winfo Solutions, and after the introductions, obviously. So Winfo Solutions is a technology partner dedicated to customer success in the digital transformation area. We specialize in Oracle applications, which includes implementations, managed services across various industries. We help customers with AI-powered test automation, AI-powered intelligent process automation, which we'll talk about a little bit today. We also do custom development and in the area of cloud smart around Oracle OCI, covering IaaS, PaaS, data, and AI platforms. So we've got 4 locations from which we provide services: UK, Ireland, US, and Romania. And we have our center of excellence based in India. So it's a little bit about Winfo Solutions. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about automation in finance and the benefits it brings as well. So what is finance automation, right? So to put it very simply, it's the use of technology to automate key finance tasks with minimal or no human intervention at all. Like automation in any industry, it allows finance to get things done faster and, more importantly, more accurately. Right. So the next question is, why automation? Right? And why is it so important? Why is it so high in any CFO's agenda today? Organizations like some of you in the webinar here who are Oracle customers have made big investments in ERP, and as part of the implementations, you would have streamlined your business processes. Some of you would have even established shared services to carry out transactional elements for back office processing. Now, is this enough? Is there more from finance? To thrive in this competitive landscape, finance professionals need to be more crucial strategic partners rather than just performing intensive, repetitive manual tasks. Finance is not just about crunching numbers, right? Let me give you a simple example here, and based on our experience. Did you know that there are over 20,000 manual tasks just in R2R alone each month? And imagine, that's month on month. And various studies have indicated that, automation has the potential to improve efficiency by over 70%, time saving by over 70%. And then there's the cost savings as well. And finally, an improvement to overall productivity by over 60% as well. According to a Gartner report, automations in finance can save approximately 30% of a full-time employee's day. So today we hope to hear more of that and the benefits firsthand from John on how Lumentum took advantage of technology to automate some of their business processes. So with that very small introduction, I to our core discussion here and move on to John. John, can you give us an introduction about Lumentum and what Lumentum do?
Yeah, absolutely, and thanks, Harry. Yeah, Lumentum, Lumentum here. We're a publicly traded company. Our ticker symbol is LITE or Light, and we are a leading photonics company. We design and we manufacture globally innovative optical and photonic products that enable optical networking and including laser applications and also supporting the recent hyper growth that we're seeing now out of AI worldwide. And just a little bit of background from Lumentum, we spun off from a company called JDSU back in 2015. So we've been operating similar to a startup since then. And again, with growth, one of the areas that comes into focus as you grow is operational efficiency, and then finance as Harry stated, with all the metrics is really prime for automation. We're about a 1.8 billion in revenue. We have 7,500 plus employees worldwide. So we're a global company with operations in APAC, North America, and EMEA. So just a little bit of background there on the Lumentum side.
Thank you, John. And for the benefit of everyone, could you also describe your Oracle landscape? I know you are a combination of a hybrid of both on-premise and cloud. Sure. Just a brief about your architecture.
Yeah, I mean, currently, we're running Oracle R12 on-prem. That includes finance, obviously, all the core modules that we have, R2R, P2P. So the various core modules there, and also supply chain. We have several cloud applications as well. That includes some of our Hyperion applications are on the cloud, and some of our supply chain applications are also on the cloud. And we have peripheral applications that hooks onto our Oracle ERP. And UiPath, we currently have on-prem. We've enabled that for about almost 4 years now. And we do plan to move that to the cloud this year as well. So just a little bit of background, no different than any other company out there. We have various systems within our IT application footprint. And, as we grow and we get through more M&As, we consolidate more systems and processes, and when we consolidate, we centralize that, and we automate as much as we can as well, including IT. So it's not just finance that we're looking for automation. So just a little bit of background on what we currently have in our application footprint today.
Thank you, John. And I know that it's been a few years now, and you've successfully started the automation journey. Could you talk about how this started? Whether any specific challenges that led you to think automation? Can you talk about how this all started, the journey of automation for you?
Well, I think it feeds into what I just said previously in terms of who we are at Lumentum. When we spun off, we really operated like a startup, and we were growing. And one of the areas when we looked at is as we gained momentum through more M&As, is how can we drive our synergies more efficiently. And then finance at the time, there was a lot of various processes that were maintained offline. As you guys know, finance is one of the areas where everything is done offline, with people doing various procedures offline. That's different, even though you have a global standard operating procedures. Various users tend to be working in silo and doing their own thing. And so really what drove that is, how can we scale with all the synergy savings that we are supposed to provide out of M&A? And that's really the conversation that started. And also, how do we close our books faster? We're spending too much time. Our users, particularly our shared services in Shenzhen, in China, they were spending quite a bit of time closing the books during the weekend. And we can't scale if people are continually doing these repetitive steps every month for period close and other various operational activities as well. So that really started us to look at it like, what can we do to make it more efficient? Now, we can either do it, bolt on, build our own applications and build our own automation, but we looked at RPA as a way to really drive those efficiencies and allow us to really support our growth, both strategically and also tactically. So there's a lot of thought that went into that. I think it took us about 6 months to just really look at RPA, whether it was the right path for us. And then we partnered with Winfo, obviously with Hari's team, and we've been partnering now for almost 5 years. And we've really grown along with the WinfoBot, as well as really the core foundation of our automation, not only back then but going forward as well. So we've seen various iteration of the application as well, and so we're excited to continue to do that and support our growth.
Thank you. Some real challenges there as well. And I know that when you guys started, you talk about the Bright methodology, and how you got as well. So which I found interesting as well. So maybe you can maybe talk a little bit about that as well in terms of the process.
Yeah, we really wanted to come in and when we stood up the automation pillar within not only IT but within our business, we wanted to come up with a framework that we can follow as a company and really standardize it. And we came up with our Bright framework, and what that is we brainstorm our use cases. Previously, our IT was at the center of that. Engaging the business and trying to get their their use cases and their critical business process. We knew what they were, but we just needed to prioritize it. So really what we do is we get all the use cases, and then we look at it, and within our committee with our global process owners, we look at if those are valid use cases for RPA, which is the next step. Is we rationalize it, right? We measure that in terms of, hey, how many steps can we really save here? How many manual repeatable steps? And can we make this a consistent global process for us? And then once we put that in a repository, then we identify the best value case. And this, we did a lot of quick wins in the beginning to initially drive the adoption of RPA. We go from, simple, medium complexity and high complexity, but also based on prioritization and from a value case perspective, both soft and hard ROIs. And then we transform it, and we go through a transformation where with RPA, what's interesting about RPA that we've discovered, at least from our side, is we don't just, we get a use case and we automate it in a siloed process initially. What ends up happening is that broadens to a more global end-to-end process, and that really standardizes the whole entire integrated flow, right? So we do transform that not only on the automation part, but also procedurally from an audit perspective, and also from an operational procedure perspective as well. Everybody's doing the same thing now because RPA is doing it, right? Not individual users that are doing it in silo where they have their various ways of doing things. So that's one of the key critical positive for us, especially for a global company like most everybody else. That's a huge win because it allows you to have a centralized view and a more consistent view of your global processes as well. And then we execute, right? Once executing is nothing more like then how do we build it? How do we deploy it? And how do we sustain it? So that's really the framework that we go by, and each of our use cases goes through each of these bucket areas. And just one thing to note, though, we started with IT really driving RPA, but we've pivoted around that, and now we've really focused on our engagement with our business partners, especially at the global process owners or business champions, to drive their use cases, because they are, and their teams are the ones that's heavily impacted. Even though we do have our executive buy-in, we really just focus and drive on our global process owners to drive the automation and knowing what RPA can do, and really knowing what the Bright framework can do. They even do the Bright framework themselves now. They run it through before they come to us to build it. So it works for us, and we continue to evolve this framework. So we'll see. So we're excited to see how this progresses along the way to support our growth.
Fantastic. And we often get asked this question, right? So half the journey is identifying exactly what to automate. And I think and how did you choose your first one? I think it was fixed assets area, isn't it, that you really chose as your first area to automate. Can you talk about why fixed assets and what led you to choose fixed assets as being your first process to automate?
Yeah, fixed asset was really key for us. There were several users that are, I don't know, as those that have done the fixed asset, whether it's day-to-day operations or closing the books, it's there's various users, and we have about right now 28 operating units. So if you can just really think through it, that's 28 fixed asset corp books. That doesn't even include the tax books that we have. And we looked at it, and it has enough. It really met the initial part of the Bright framework when we brainstormed it. It had really a lot of repeatable steps that we could automate from a period close perspective. So we wanted to start with that, just because there's it's a good foundational start for us. and of course we looked at AP, AR, and then GL as well. But with FA, it's a highly repeatable, and there was a lot of inconsistencies on various users doing different things offline to close the books, right? So we wanted to standardize that as well. So we really came in and looked at fixed asset as a prime example of what we can start with for our automation journey. And then that was our first POC internally. And we went through the entire flow, and not just closing the book in the core fixed asset module, but also all the offline processes we've also automated. So that's what I mean by transform. You end up transforming that entire flow, not just the fixed asset, because it allows you to look at, hey, what are the inefficiencies along the way that they're doing? We didn't even know some of the users were doing some of those offline processes that they did, right? Because it fed into Oracle. So we ended up automating that. So for example, they were running various reports offline. They were running various pivots in worksheets offline. So we were able to automate that and then integrate that into Oracle fixed assets without writing any API or interface along the way. It was more the bot doing those manual steps for them, right? So that's one example of stitching that end-to-end flow together and really drive efficiency and scale, right? So we started with one operating unit, wanted to see what that was, and it was successful. Then we moved on to the next period close. We tried, the top 4 books that we had, and then on the third period close, we went big bang. After that, we automated the rest of it. So now, if you look at our fixed asset period close, our users in Shenzhen, they don't even close the books. When they send out an email during period close, it's called close by RPA for each book, right? So that's a huge win for our team, and allows us to scale for growth as well. So if we do another M&A, right, and we're going through one integration right now, and we're probably going to add like 6 more books, including the tax books, and by doing that, we can scale that now because the bot is doing all the period close. We don't need to add another headcount there in terms of performing the fixed asset period close. So just a little bit of background on how we started, why we chose fixed assets, some of the areas that results, some of the key results from that. And that really drives, again, our scale going forward, economies of scale, because now we can add as many operating units as we want without potentially having to add headcounts, because if we need more volume to support volume, we just add another bot, right? Which is more cost effective for us rather than adding another few headcounts in the shared services. So again, going back to what I just said, that really supports our strategic and tactical growth for M&A.
Thank you, John. Thank you. If I can now move on to Shanmugh, right? So you're an architect in the WinfoBots product team, and I think the product has been closely been implemented in Lumentum as well. Can you tell us a little bit about WinfoBots, and why WinfoBots?
Yeah, Hari. And first of all, thank you, John, for sharing your experiences at Lumentum. Yeah, so before diving into the specifics of WinfoBots, I want to touch on a common challenge many organizations face in the ERP landscape, which is the transaction volume and processing time. Currently, a significant amount of time is allocated to transaction processing, leaving less time for business critical tasks. And as organizations grow, the number of transactions and the corresponding time to process them increases. So with automation, organizations can scale easily without dedicating substantial resources to manual transaction processing. So this indirectly allows teams to focus on value generating activities, making automation imperative. It's quite important. And the benefits of automation are there for everyone to see. And while there are many automation solutions in the market, our work with clients and customers revealed recurring challenges in automation adoption. And some of these include transparency, right? So we get asked this question many times. How do I know what robots are doing in the background? So the business needs assurance that the automation solution provides timely help when required and they are working as expected. And without a user-friendly interface, right, a UI, robots can feel like sophisticated macros. So a UI is crucial for collaboration between humans and robots. And one of the other challenge we used to see was there must be an option for manual input during process automation where human judgment is necessary. So they needed to have a place wherein they could input the data into the bot so that the bot can process it into ERP. Moreover, the logs produced by the robots often lack a visual audit trail, right? And additionally, organizations don't want to spend thousands of dollars on consulting fees, and they always want a faster ROI. Also, even if they are ready to automate, they are unsure as to which processes to automate first, and between humans and robots. And one of the other challenge we used to see was there must be an option for manual input during process automation where human judgment is necessary. So they needed to have a place wherein they could input the data into the bot so that the bot can process it into ERP. Moreover, the logs produced by the robots often lack a visual audit trail, right? And additionally, organizations don't want to spend thousands of dollars on consulting fees, and they always want a faster ROI. Also, even if they are ready to automate, they are unsure as to which processes to automate first. And if you can move on to the next slide, please. So to address these challenges, we leveraged our expertise in Oracle and in automation to build WinfoBots. So we created pre-built packaged end-to-end automation solutions across various business processes within the Oracle ERP space. So our solutions cover areas such as the procure to pay, the order to cash cycle, the record to report, and even the project. So these are to name a few. And in these buckets, we have even automated complex processes like the month-end close, which involves closing of various subledger modules and constant back and forth communication between multiple teams. And if you're an Oracle ERP user or an organization that uses Oracle, WinfoBots is something you can implement. It is incredibly user-friendly, and our product or accelerator, it can be dragged and dropped onto your ERP system and you can see the magic happen. So yeah, now that I've spoken about the genesis of WinfoBots and why we created WinfoBots, I'd like to highlight about some of the key features of our application. Yeah, most RPA processes, they run in the background, leaving business users in the dark about the process status. Our dashboards offer complete visibility into the robot's progress, making WinfoBots a business-focused solution rather than an IT-centric one. We have custom dashboards built for each of the processes that we automated, and the users can get clear-cut visibility for each of the process. Also, we have integration capabilities built into the product. Our robots can communicate with various applications to fetch necessary data that is needed for automation. For example, in a recent sales order automation project, we pulled warehouse values from an SAP application to create and process orders into the EBS application. So we use the values that were pulled from SAP and then same were processed into the EBS. So this ensures that we have a seamless automation established. Moreover, we constantly use AI technology to extract information from documents such as invoices and purchase orders that have multiple formats, right? So the formats keep on changing from various suppliers or customers. So using AI only seems logical to ensure high data accuracy. Moreover, we have our robots keep users informed by sending notification at key intervals, such as whenever approvals or data inputs are needed. So these timely updates keep users engaged and allows them to provide necessary inputs via the WinfoBots dashboard. So our robots constantly keep the user in the loop, right? So whenever any automation is happening, they notify the user if any approval is needed so that they can come to the dashboard and provide the approval. Or if some data input is needed, the dashboard can be accessed via the emails and the necessary input can be given to the bot. So the user is always kept in the loop, right? So these are some of the key features, right? Now that I have spoken about the features, let us discuss the benefits of actually using WinfoBots. So to quantify the benefits, let us consider a typical organization with $5 billion revenue and over 30,000 employees. By implementing 37 of our pre-built automation solutions, this organization could save over 100 FTEs, which essentially translates to approximately 10,000 manual hours of effort saved. And this additionally adds up to $30 million in cost savings in up to 5 years. And all this can be achieved by using just 26 robots. So we have built a pre-built business case calculator, and we use this to tailor these savings projections to each client's specific needs. So we have this calculator, and this can be shared across after the webinar if needed. Right. So that is the story of WinfoBots.
Thank you, Shanmugh. We do have a couple of questions actually coming from some of the audience here, and I think there's one particular question where it's been recurring as well in terms of ROI. John, it's probably a question for you as well, right? So,
Yeah.
I'd like to hear from you on your experience on building the business case, especially focused around the ROI. And how did you go around doing the business case?
Yeah, and thanks, Shamuk, for providing an overview of WinfoBots. I do want to add to some of the slides that was presented. I would almost call the WinfoBot as really an accelerator of your business automation, and that's the way we see it here, or the way, at least that's how we view it. Because right out of the box, you see the period close steps. You literally will see each of the period close step for each of the modules, right? So that's, you have to call that more of a foundational accelerator. That's what you have. And then any of your unique processes, where for us, for example, we run OBIE reports, we may be running some QuickSight reports, some Tableau reports that can seamlessly integrate there as well, so that you have a full visibility of each of the steps. So I just want to add to that, based on our exposure and experience to the WinfoBots. So there is something that we found, and it also saves time for our business, because if they want to see the status of the period close, for example, because we're using fixed asset here as a scenario, they can see where each of the areas that the period close is in the status of that, whether it's pass, fail, and so forth. So rather than doing individual manual steps, the users are now doing value-added tasks by monitoring and validating, making sure that the period close is going as smoothly as possible with all the various steps that we do, rather than doing all those repeatable steps. Now, having said that, as from an ROI perspective, from a value case perspective, we look at the traditional way of hard savings, soft savings. That could be the number of keystrokes, the number of mouse clicks that we're saving, and also on a number of offline processes, particularly Excel. There's a ton of Excel in finance. Everybody knows that. You can't get away from Excel. But if the robot does that process for you, then there is no Excel in your end-to-end flow, right? So if you take that away from the business and they trust that the robot can do that, right, then they don't have to do it themselves. So that was one of the powerful value add that we saw, again, by going and look at it. Now we have an integrated flow. So we look at those first, what really is the savings for that. And then the soft saving, and there's the hard savings also, right? How much more time are we saving? And time saving is more of how much is the bot doing versus how much is our users doing, and that's really how we quantify it, right? Because when you automate a lot, sometimes the bot may do it a little bit more, but we look at it more, well, if the bot's doing that and our users aren't doing that, right, that's still a win, because they don't have to do it, right? So we look at both of those, and then if it cuts down on the time, we look at that as well. So we look at our operational efficiency, headcount cost, and we also put various scenarios that if we grow and we add more operating units, we add more ledgers, right? So we continue to grow. How much more headcounts would we have put in if we did not automate? So we also quantify that as well on our ROI. And you overlay that to what was your run cost for our PA. Hey, how much are you saving on, how much cost are you running on your shared data center where you're hosting the application, right? You take a percentage of that, your licenses, right? And how much is your license growing, right? Annually versus how much you've automated against those efficiencies. So there's various variables that we look at. I don't think, you could certainly look at the standard benchmark for this, but I think as a company, you have to look at what makes sense for you for your ROI, right? What is important for us. Efficiency, headcount, work-life balance played a big role in it as well. By automating, and again, I'm going to focus on fixed assets because what we're talking about here. By automating fixed assets, our users in Shenzhen in China, our shared service doesn't have to work. It doesn't even have to come into the office on Saturday and Sunday. They can just execute that month-end close, fixed asset period close offline or outside of the offices. So that's a huge win as well. We look at it that way. And then scale, as I said previously. So just give you some various examples, at least from our experience, but we go through with soft saving and hard saving some ROI.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, John. And just to kind of add to that question as well, and Shanmugh, you touched upon it. We do have also, an ROI and an effort estimator that we provide with clients, that has a questionnaire, and based on that questionnaire, that can help you with then, coming up with an ROI as well. So we'll be happy to share that if that's of use to you all. I've got one more question here in terms of WinfoBots that are available on the cloud as well. The answer is yes, Shanmugh. So this works on all sorts of applications, including any cloud application basically, and all the pre-built processes are available both on premise and cloud. Okay, so I'm just gonna move on here. So let's talk about implementation, right? So I know we spoke about the product as such. And Nalini, you have been involved in the project, working closely with John and his team. Could you talk to the audience about implementation? How did you approach the implementation? How long did this take?
Sure, Hari. So initially, Lumentum were new to automation, and the users had never been involved in any automation project before. So we had to start with some sessions to ensure the user understands how the process will work and what they can achieve using WinfoBots. As John mentioned, we decided to prioritize FA process as our initial automation target. So there are several workshops conducted with business users to understand how they are processing the fixed assets process. We have taken the inputs from the business users during these workshops and captured all the business exceptions. And also, based upon the inputs which are provided by the business user, a detailed process design document was prepared with a detailed screenshot on how the solution would work. This gave users a very good confidence in the solution. We ensured that all the stakeholders like business users and everyone reviewed the PDD and provided their sign-off. So for build and test, we adopted an agile approach. Since this is a pre-packaged one, the development efforts are minimal. As 90% is already covered in WinfoBots pre-packaged process, there are many minor changes for Lumentum, which we have also covered in the development part. We have also provided multiple system demos to the users to keep them engaged throughout the journey. Additionally, we conducted several training sessions to prepare users for UAT. This ensures that the UAT was signed off with minimal issues. The whole process took 4 months to complete. The project started on October 2020 and it went live in January 2021. The first Pyretos was the key, and the entire project team was available in the hypercare to support us. And the business users are also available to support in case of any issues at the time of month end. The Pyretos was completed with hardly any issues, like zero for the first automation. There are 0% of issues, and the entire process was fully automated. There was a very good feedback on the first Pyretos, and the business confidence grew significantly.
Fantastic, fantastic. And I know you spoke about very less issues. I'm sure you must have had challenges, right? So, can you just talk about some of the challenges you would have come across?
Yes, there are few challenges that I want to call out. The first and primary challenge was process standardization, where there are individual variations across the business units. Like one user have one way of doing the process. So during the design phase, we worked closely with the business to ensure the process was fully captured and standardized. And the next challenge was user training. As I mentioned, we have followed an agile methodology where we have provided frequent system demos and trainings to bring the users up to the speed. And the third challenge was localization. The business users were spread across the globe. The IT team were in US, teams are in China, and we are based in India. The project was organized in such a way that there was a very good overlap. Despite all these challenges, we got a constant support from the business users and IT team, especially from John. This was one of the main reasons for the success of this project.
Thank you, Nalini. Thank you. John, there's some more questions as well, but it all boils to it's all leading towards benefits, right? I know, and I'm sure. You already spoke about some of the benefits. So
Yep.
there's more questions here. Can you talk about the various benefits that the whole project brought on to Lumentum?
Yeah, I think like I said, I think for I would assume for various companies there'll be different variables that you guys that people would look into. But for us, we look at various metrics. Operational efficiency is one. We were able to accomplish about 80%, 80 to 90% efficiency on that, and the way we measured that was how much, if we look at the fixed asset period close, how much of it is a bot doing, right? And then how much more offline that they're doing. Well, the offline process right now is really our business users, particularly our shared services, looking at validating the results of the automation, or reviewing the reports and the output, but they don't run those reports. The bot does, and not having to, it's those little time savings. And maybe instead of logging in Oracle, for example, it takes you about what 2-3 minutes to log in, navigate, go to the concurrent program, look at your request. Whereas they'll just log into the WinfoBots, look at it. So even though you may say, oh, it's only 5 clicks, 20 clicks, but over time that saves times, right? So everybody's looking at the same data, and everybody's really looking at it, a centralized repository of the period close process, for example, right? So we look at operational efficiency. Now, the other area is, like I stated earlier, the automation doesn't have to save the time. You could, if it saves time, great, right? But even if it does it a little bit more time, because the bot has to go through the navigation, for example, that is still a business value, right? The outcome of that is still a value add to the business, because they're not doing it. So we have to look at it also in terms of how much of it that, hey, if Jason, who was our lead in shared services, was doing 6+ hours just to close 3 books, but if the bot does it, maybe a little bit more, but that's 6 hours that Jason is saving. He doesn't have to do that. He just wait for that. So we look at those, we look at, obviously, repetitive steps, mouse clicks, and navigating through Oracle, to the reports, offline processes. So you have to quantify all of that. Don't look at just what's happening in Oracle. You got to look at it holistically. Again, if I go back to the Bright framework, that's where the transformation happens. You're transforming that business process end to end, not just that siloed process within Oracle, right? The error reduction is another key. The bot is doing it, so it's standardized, right, across the board. So there's less prone for errors. Now you may run into some systemic issues or that may come up, but the error reduction is definitely another key benefit to that. The manual effort, I think we just touched base on that. We achieved about 80 to 90% operational efficiency on that. And then the headcount, I can't stress that enough. We are going to continue to grow. When we grow and we add more GL ledgers, I think in this last round of M&A, we added about 8 total ledgers, both primary ledgers and secondary ledgers, and then all the sub ledgers for fixed assets. In particular, we added maybe eight more books, and that doesn't even include the tax books right now. And normally you would, that puts stress on your team, on the business team, especially on the finance team. But here, just as long as you have the operating units, the asset books in there, it becomes part of the automation, right? Because it's Winfo, the WinfoBot application is already integrated to Oracle. So it sees all of those books. As long as those books are added, right, they can automate it. So it can be automated. So that's another huge win for the automation as well in terms of scaling RPA for us. So there's various variables that you can look at for your automation, and then for us, that's how we look at some of the cost savings, particularly efficiency on RPA.
Fantastic. And I remember, John, when doing the business case, and I was there as well. There were certain parameters that you also had for the non-tangible benefits, right? You touched upon employee satisfaction, employee morale.
Oh yeah.
Those contributed as well. And you spoke about weekend working, etc. And they were part of your business case as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't even touch on that. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Harry, because again, at the time, the focus was on our HR team had a program also for work-life balance, right? Well, you can't have work-life balance if you work on the weekends, right? And as you guys know, finance is so repeatable, right? Every month there's a period close. Every 3 months there's a quarter end. Every year there's your year-end close. So every 2 weeks you're in this constant repeatable mode, right? You only have that 2 weeks downtime, and then after that you do another period close. So if you can take away that repeatable steps, right, along the way, and you can't do it all at one time, you just keep at it, and then that moves your team to doing other more value add tasks, right? So we do look at definitely work-life balance. Like I stated earlier, our finance team on this particular fixed asset period close scenario, they don't necessarily have to go to the office. They can go with their kids. They can go see a movie. They can just monitor it online. If there's and because RPA sends an email notification, and if there is an error, right, from a root cause perspective, it sends a screenshot of the error and a log. So that takes away the analysis, even on the IT side, having to log into Oracle, having to look at the log, having to look at the concurrent request, where did it error, right? Whereas we log into the WinfoBot, we can see exactly on the list of tasks end to end that Shamuk was just saying. You can focus on the areas on where it errored out, and then you can also see the dependencies. So from that perspective, that also adds value, right? So for us, definitely there's the human element to it. And just to give you another example of it, previously, when we do our M&A integrations, we normally don't involve our shared services team because they're so busy with the daily operations. But when we took the fixed assets automation, when we enabled that and we provided more time to them, and there was an email actually from our VP and our senior VP of finance that Jason and his team, Jason leads our fixed asset shared services team, they were able to allocate it into our integration project, their time, right? Because of the time saving on the automation. So I thought that was just a really a good way to show the power of that, the result of that, right? Because previously we couldn't even touch them, we couldn't even approach them because they're so busy. But during that time, they had some tasks because they were involved in the data conversion. During that, prior to RPA, my team would be involved in that, right? Now it's a shared, really what should be owned by the fixed asset team because they own the data. Now they're able to allocate more time to it. So again, just some examples, and we went through here at Lumentum. Those are actual examples here that have occurred. I'm sure other companies may have very different results, but at the end of the day, it's becoming more efficient and supporting what your strategy as a company and tactically how you want to execute against that strategy. You really got to look at RPA for that as well and see where it can plug in, because RPA is at the center of the onion, so to speak, right? It can automate not just your core ERP, but various applications as well.
There's one related question, John, on what you just spoke, right, regarding organizational changes and capabilities, right? So, the question is regarding business and IT and capabilities which had to be put in place to run and maintain the automations, i.e., example, right? What is owned by business and what's owned by IT now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, before that, various tasks was run by IT. For example, we used to extract a report for CapEx, right? Again, we're going through fixed assets here. We would extract the report from CapEx, whereas now, Jason's team can just send, for example, an email to the bot and say, "Give me this report." Right? He doesn't know that we're running a backend query for that, but it's just for him. It gives him that report. So I think from the delineation of what IT was doing, it really, both the user side, the business side, and the IT side, it's kind of going like this right now. Instead of us doing it as a team and doing that manual steps, it's like the unattended bot is like really doing that for us, for both business and IT. And then on the IT front, again, that when you go through your use case, it expands your horizon, right? Because even if you look at just that fixed asset and you look at the end-to-end flow, but there's other peripheral boundary systems that comes with it, right? And you have to look at it and, there's some another use cases that we could potentially automate even more on the IT side that we didn't even know before. So visually, it allows you to see, the potential of the automation, right? And what else I can automate there on the IT side, right? So for example, when we were looking at our M&A, right? And so it's like, well, we keep adding categories for new books that we're adding. And if you ever know fixed assets, you have to add, when you enable a corp book, you have to add same categories over and over again for those number of books. Where our IT team was doing that because our finance team was waiting. Jason's team was waiting. Hey, we need to automate the new corp books, right? So we're looking at it now. Well, why don't we just automate that piece? Why do we have to keep doing that? So it allows, peripherally, you can kind of get a sense of where else you can automate, not just the core fixed assets.
And in terms of say once you've gone live as well, am I right in saying that the business now owns the solution and there's very less IT involvement once you've gone live, right? So they run the process themselves and
they do actually. It's interesting you said that, and it's a really valid point. I can give you a really actual example of that. When we run our fixed asset period close, and if you were within Oracle, you know what a concurrent request is, you know what a concurrent program is. There would be, when you run depreciation, there would be an error in one of them, right? And so Jimmy, who supports our shared service team, would log into Oracle, troubleshoot it, analyze it. He'd have to wake up on Saturday and Sunday and like really look at it, assess it, and then close it. Or maybe get into an MI meeting for a major incident because it's period closed. Whereas now, the bot sends all that information to Jason's team. So they know exactly what's happening there, right? And most of those they can fix themselves, right? Not IT. Because before, IT would facilitate the root cause. It's like, hey, what caused this issue? Is it systemic? Is it business on the business side? So we've taken a lot of that away from the IT side, where now Jason's team can kind of, again, it goes back to that value add level of work, right? They don't do those repeatable steps anymore. They validate it, they look at it. If there's an error, they look at it first. Oh, I don't need to wait for John's team for this. I can just fix it myself, right? So for example, one incident was that the bot stopped working because one of the accounts that was assigned to the asset category was invalid, right? What I mean by invalid, that code combination didn't exist. So normally, you know, my team would have to analyze and assess that and what the issue is. But you know, with the bot, no, Jason can see it as to what the error is, and then IT's not involved anymore because they own that process, right? Finance owns the GL account, so they would create that, run the bot again, and execute. So that's one prime actual example of, you know, shifting that work from IT to more business focus.
Thank you. Shanmugh, there's one question for you. You know, I know we spoke about UiPath platform, you know, and in this particular example, you know, Jay says that it's on-prem, UiPath is on-prem, and can WinfoBots be plugged and installed in the client's UiPath on-prem? I'm assuming that's possible. In fact, that's what Lumentum have done, isn't it? So Lumentum have UiPath on-prem. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yes, we do. I do want to add to that, Hari, before you chime in. Yes, we do have on-prem for WinfoBot. We had it for about 5 years. All right. And so again, it's not, you know, whether it's on the cloud or on-prem, the core functionality and the core benefit of it remains the same. Right. So
Yes.
I mean, I didn't, sorry, Shamil, go ahead.
No,
No,
what you were, yeah, it is agnostic when it comes to cloud or on-prem. We have customers that use both on-prem as well as cloud orchestrators, both.
and also it depends on the client. You know, the client can own the UiPath license on-prem as well.
Correct.
Across both.
Yeah.
So one interesting question here in terms of can WinfoBots help create manual invoices which cannot be created because no API exists from Oracle, right? So do RPAs have such scenarios? And I'm assuming the answer is yes. That's exactly what.
Yeah, we have an invoice creation process built in our application. So we manually log into the screens without any API and create the invoices. In fact, we create non-PO, PO match, two-way, three-way. We have everything built into the system.
Sure, thank you. We are actually running out of time. I did do a commitment to close a little bit early. But one last thing about for you, John, right? So, you know, obviously you started with fixed assets, but since then, you know, you've gone all, you know, all processes now, you know, you're considering for automation.
Yeah, we've expanded a lot, and what's interesting with our journey was it started as very IT-centric, meaning IT, you know, for the lack of a better word, was the sales people internally within Lumentum for RPA. You know, we met with our executive, senior management, CIO, CFO, senior VPs and VPs. But for our journey, where we gain a lot of traction is when we engage with our global process owners, right? Because they're the one holding the bag, so to speak, for that. So when we went with them, and then that's when our engagement collaboration grew and our automation kind of expanded within finance. And we've done a lot. We still have some backlog, and we work with Nalini and her team. You know, payment automation was a big win. PO approval workflow is another big win, which was a huge, that saved us about 1 week, 2 weeks worth of effort alone during our M&A. Chart of accounts management, again, an M&A cost savings. If you guys have ever gone through an M&A, it's adding accounts to your chart of accounts, adding product line hierarchies. So all of that have been automated now. Monthly accrual process as well was another huge win that we just did for our Canadian operation there, right? That saved them 1 week because they had actually one person doing that. The bot does it now. And instead of running the monthly accruals once a month, it runs at least twice a month now. So huge wins for that. Invoice, hard copy, same thing. Bank account management, AP PO period close, end-to-end automation as well. So, but we do have a huge backlog in finance. We're also expanding beyond finance. We're also now engaging with our supply chain and operations team and see what else can we automate there. So a lot exciting story, exciting journey. It keeps growing. So we're excited to continue to progress in that journey as we grow.
Thank you, John. So we are coming to the top of the hour now, and our commitment was to close a little bit early as well. So there are a few unanswered questions, so our team will respond to you on email. And as I said, you know, we will also send you a recording of the link of the webinar. And if you do want to talk to us, please drop an email to us at sales@winfosolutions.com, and one of our consultants will reach out to you, immediately. To conclude, we at Winfo Solutions, thank you for your presence today. Thank you very much, John, for taking the time out, to join us in this webinar. So it's really, really appreciated. I hope you found the session, interesting, and we hope to speak to you soon. So thank you very much, and have a good rest of the day. Thanks very much.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Glad to be here. Thank you.
Everybody, bye bye. Have a great day.
Take care. Bye.